Facts.
Hello, it's Friday, and happy Labor Day weekend, everyone. We made it. We're here. We're at the end of the road. For some, the end of summer, as we look into the weekend. And of course, on the other side of it is September, and lots of things that happened in that September season, including back to school. I stopped at a local store on the way home from the show yesterday, and there was a bevy of parents in there with rambunctious kids, let's say, running around, buying their stuff up for the new school year. I know it's not exactly going to happen on Tuesday for some. I know that the school kind of spreads out the return dates, particularly in HRCE, but it is in fact at the quote-unquote unofficial end to the unofficial summer, let's say. And I know that many of you are going to try and wring every last minute out of that as we head into what looks like it's going to be a long weekend that has sunshine. And I know lots of us were hoping for rain, and it looks like there is some in the forecast, but not a whole lot, and maybe not as much as we had anticipated. It's another day with a special air quality statement here in HRM. It wasn't as thick today, at least as it's been for the last couple of days with the wood smoke, with the wildfire smoke. But it is still a bit of a air quality issue here, and we of course have our minds and our thoughts on the people being impacted out there in the Annapolis Valley. The government announcing yesterday the number of homes that were lost to the Long Lake wildfire: 20 homes and 11 outbuildings. I can't even imagine what those families are going through today. And I know that there is insurance for them. I know that the government is keeping an eye on things for maybe those that don't have insurance. But I can't even imagine. I think I talked about this earlier in the week. You know, you get minutes literally to leave your home if you're under an evacuation order, and you grab what you can, right? Hopefully you have stuff nearby that you can grab, and you grab some clothes and your medications and such, and then you go, and then now everything is gone. It's just an unimaginable tragedy, and again, our thoughts go out to everybody out in the valley that is experiencing that today. Thank you very much to Vanessa Vandenez, who is on the other side of the glass and is doing a fantastic job keeping things in line here on the program. I know she's looking very much forward to a long weekend, as many of you are. Now, yesterday on the program, I kind of give a bit of a teaser, as we call it in the business, about a bit of a change coming today to the open hour. Now, as you well know, there's been a lot of depressing news out there as of late. I mentioned that we were going to change things up in the open hour today, with this weekend being the unofficial end to summer. I thought it would be fun to ask you to tell us some of the good news that you saw this year. Something really great happened to you this summer? Do you get some service at a restaurant or a shop that was above and beyond? Did you discover something new this year? You know, we decided that we were going to stay here in Canada, or at least not travel to the United States as part of the Elbows Up campaign. Did you discover something, or maybe rediscover something this year in Nova Scotia that was a bit of a surprise? We're going to do a good news edition of the open hour today. It's going to happen at 11 o'clock like it normally does, and I'm looking forward to it. I've got a couple of things. I know Vanessa probably has some things that she'd like to relay to you as well, but it's I thought it was appropriate, being that, you know, this is the end of the summer season, quote unquote, and it would be fun to stride off into the long weekend with a little good news on the open hour. So go through your brain, go through your Rolodex, your mental Rolodex, and I'm looking forward to you joining the show as part of that today. I know a couple of you reached out to me yesterday and asked if we were going to do what Todd has become a tradition here on the show, and do a a musical farewell, sayonara to summer. But as Todd explained, and maybe if you didn't missed the explanation, this show is available now on it's everywhere. You can get it on Spotify, you can get it everywhere else. And when we made that big change, that there's as you well know, there are some rules with copyrights, so we're unable to do that again. But I thought that this would be an appropriate way to wrap up the summer season. So look forward to that. Get your calls in early. I don't want to disappoint anybody, and I'm looking forward to hearing your stories. Back to school is happening on Tuesday here, or throughout the rest of the week, and I've never really sat down and thought about it before, but it's really expensive to educate a student in our school system these days. Spending per student from kindergarten to grade 12 in Canada ranges from a low of $13,494 in Alberta to a high of $19,484 in Quebec. These numbers from 22-23. And it's a new study published by the Fraser Institute, independent, nonpartisan Canadian public policy think tank. Very pleased to welcome the author and senior fellow at the Fraser Institute, Michael Zagstra, to the program. Michael, how are you?
I'm very good. And you?
I am well, sir. It really is expensive to educate a student in Canada, isn't it?
It always has been. Public education is quite expensive, and especially when you look at it on a per-student basis.
So when you dig these numbers out, what do you look at? Do you look at the cost of the teacher, of the school, the rent, or whatever it is that the school pays? Is it all part of a long list of expenses?
Well, we try to take every factor into account. I mean, obviously, salaries, and particularly teacher salaries, are by far the largest amount. I mean, education is a people business, so it's not surprising salaries are the highest amount. But yes, we do incorporate capital costs of school buildings. We look at benefits for staff, and because it's not just salary, there's also benefits, and there's obviously equipment costs, textbook costs. So we take all those variables in, and then you get a number in terms of the amount that is spent in total on education, and then you divide it by the total number of registered students, and that's how you get the per-student spending figure.
Now, math isn't my strong suit, Michael, so please bear with me on this, but you would think that the bigger provinces would have a bigger number, right?
Well, they would have a bigger total number in terms of total spending. But again, the key thing is when you divide it by the number of students. So the size of the province actually shouldn't impact it, right? Because obviously if you've got more students, you spend more money, but the amount could potentially be the same or even less per student.
Now, salaries obviously are the biggest chunk of this, right?
By far. Salaries make up, if you include all staff, usually around 80% or so of a total education budget. That's not surprising. Obviously, salaries are by far the highest amount.
So Nova Scotia kind of fits in the middle of the pack with regards to the cost per student for education.
Yeah, Nova Scotia, in the last year that we have data for, which is 2022-2023, spent $16,800 per student, which basically puts it in the middle of the pack. As you pointed out in your intro, the lowest is Alberta at about $13,500, and then the highest is Quebec at $19,500, and then Nova Scotia smack dab in the middle. Most provinces are in the $15,000, $16,000 a year range.
But that also accounts for about almost an 11% increase, right?
Well, this is what's important to note. Nova Scotia, when you look at the total amount spent per student, obviously every province spending has gone up, but the important thing is to factor in inflation. And so what we did in our analysis is look at the inflation rate and then calculate how much was the increase over and above the rate of inflation. And in Nova Scotia, the spending per student actually increased over 10 years by 10.8% above the rate of inflation per student. Without the rate of inflation, it was 38%. But even when you factor in inflation, Nova Scotia is spending over 10% more per student than it was 10 years ago. So that is quite interesting.
And how does that rate or the increase in spending rank across the rest of the country?
Nova Scotia is one of the highest as far as increase in spending above inflation. Quebec was the highest. They spent 40.6% above the rate of inflation per student over 10 years. And then you have Prince Edward Island at 14.5%. And then you've got Nova Scotia at 10.8%. So Nova Scotia increased the most per student above the rate of inflation, it would be third among the Canadian provinces.
And again, does that just boil down purely on salaries, or was there something else at play here?
Salaries are the main thing, as always, but it's overall spending. And this is something that's important to note, because one of the most common claims you'll hear from, well, unions, obviously, is that education is underfunded. You always hear that. But you need to sort of, ask the question, well, how is it underfunded if the spending per student has actually gone up above the rate of inflation by over 10% over the last 10 years? And these are the important policy questions that need to be asked, because there are some provinces that the spending actually went down when you take inflation into account. Saskatchewan and Alberta and Newfoundland and Labrador, and even Ontario slightly, and Manitoba went down when you factor inflation in. So 5 provinces went above the rate of inflation, Nova Scotia being one of them. 5 were below the spending went up by less than the rate of inflation. Do after-school programs or early education programs factor into this, or is this purely based on classroom learning? It's classroom learning. So those types of things would not be a huge impact. No. So I guess the trend in Nova Scotia is that we're seeing a rather large increase in the cost per student of education. It is a significant increase in the cost per student, yes. And when you look at over 10 years now, if you and anyone who wants to can read the report, right, and they will see that some years had a bigger increase than others. The pandemic year of 2020 and 2021, there was actually a very big jump to over 18,000 per student. There were some wonky things that happened during the pandemic year. Some provinces went up noticeably, others went down during that time. Obviously, that was not a normal year. But even when you factor that out, spending has still gone up above the rate of inflation when you compare now versus 10 years ago. The report is available where, Michael? It's available on the Fraser Institute website. So if you go to fraserinstitute.org, you can read the entire report there. Michael, appreciate your time, sir. Oh, you're welcome. Anytime. Thanks. That is Michael Zwagstra. He is from the Fraser Institute. $16,800 to educate a student per student spending in public schools across Nova Scotia in 2022-2023. That is a 10.8% increase in spending outside of inflation. So there are some provinces that saw like a 17.5% decline when you factor out inflation. But Nova Scotia sitting in the middle of the pack, very near the top when it comes to an increase in spending. And this kind of checks out with some of the things that we've been hearing about an increase we know the teacher contract was it would be factored into that, and an increase in spending in schools and such, because we know that there has been a significant increase in the number of students that, as of late, hitting the education system in Nova Scotia. We're going to stop and take our very first break here on the Friday edition of the Todd Veinotte Show. When we come back, 44% of small businesses in Canada are losing sales, and skills are being blamed. We'll dig into that. You're listening to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand. We're back in minutes. All right, welcome back to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand. Don't forget, coming up in about half an hour's time, we will be having a conversation with the manager over at Halifax Transit as we continue our look at what's going on the buses. This was the genesis of a discussion that we had about air conditioning on the open hour. I think it was on Monday, and then we had a chat with the union president about what is going on and what's happening to drivers. Some drivers, it's the union at least saying, have been called off the buses on ambulances because it's been so warm on there. So we thought it only fair that we have a conversation with the executive director of Halifax Transit, and Robin Garris will be joining us here at 10:45. So make sure that you stick around for that. We've talked about labor and labor issues this week and for many weeks here on the Todd Veinotte Show. We know that there's a shortage of skilled labor out there. In fact, I think it was the Business Barometer from the CFIB said that 44% of small businesses say there is a shortage of skilled labor, and it's directly limiting their ability to increase sales or production.
The number that kind of jumped out to me, and as I was getting ready for this, was that only 22% of Canadian workers feel that they have the skills needed to advance in their careers with the next in the careers within the next 3 years. Very pleased to welcome to the program to give us a little context on this, the VP of Small Business Services at ADP Canada, Mohammed Basma. Mohammed, how are you?
Pretty good. Thank you. Thank you, Dan, for having me on the Todd Veinotte show today.
I appreciate your time. I know you're busy as we move forward here. I guess let's begin with that number. It kind of jumped off the page at me that 22% or almost a quarter of Canadian workers think that they don't have the skills. But as I sat and thought about it, I use myself as an example. The workplace is a changing play. Changes, it seems, every week. And it's very easy to fall behind as a worker, particularly us maybe that aren't 20 anymore.
Yeah, look, I agree with that. I think we're seeing a lot of changes in the workplace, and that's where the number is coming from. We can talk a bit more about the survey and how the number is coming, but I think to kind of address your comments quickly is the reason why we're seeing that is because we're seeing three key trends right now in the market. First, number one is that we still haven't fully recovered from the Great Resignation era. The talent crunch is still real. There's still a gap, especially in the small business space, on talent available, and the demand for specific skills is outpacing the supply. The second one, I think you hinted to that, was the world of work is undergoing demographic changes. We're seeing older workers are retiring in very large numbers, and when they retire, the institutional knowledge sometimes goes with them without passing to the next generation of workers. That's what's adding to that gap. And third, and this is in the mind of all of us, is that the technology advancement is like we've never seen before. And with that comes in different skill sets needed, especially I think you use the words for the people who are not 20 anymore, right? The demand to upskill in order to match the technology advancement is becoming very real and very important.
It seems that the workplace, the 2025 workplace, Mohammed, is where the saying "doing more with less" kind of has been the mantra as of late, and it's very difficult to try to take some time out of already a jammed workflow, out of a jammed day, to try and do some training when we have all these demands for productivity on us. How does a small business, who's even busier than the larger or medium sized businesses, how do they carve out time to train in all these new trends that are hitting the workplace?
Yeah, I think that's a good point, and look, I have the privilege to have what I call probably the best job, is to focus only on small businesses here at ADP. And since I've taken that job, because I do believe they're like the backbone of our economy, and we have a mission to be able to support them day in and day out in order to get them to focus on growing their business, not on the day-to-day manual tasks, but as I've taken the job in visiting a lot of small business owners, sitting down with them. So what you're seeing in terms of how busy they are and and the fact that they're wearing so many hats is very real. In addition to that, one of our research study has shown that, they spend on average 22% of small business owners could spend up to 39 hours a week on such tasks, which takes them away from growing their business. So very important. But what can people do? What can small business, especially small business owners, do in order to help close the skill gap in their busy schedule? They can take several practical steps right now to help close the skill gap. First, they can build time into workflows for employees upskilling. Even short, regular training sessions can make a big difference. If you include it in the day-to-day without hurting productivity. Second, mentorship and job shadowing programs are powerful tools for transferring institutional knowledge and building confidence. We've seen for the first time ever now in the market that we have five generations that work, five generations working together. But what we've seen that's very common across all generations is that they've been rating as one of their top benefits for them is upskilling and training on the job across all generations. And we've seen that the generations are open to transferring that institutional knowledge between each other. and mentoring each other and building the confidence. Third, what we feel we can do, in a small business is equipping the leaders to support employee development through coaching and regular feedback so that can become part of the day-to-day versus having to invest in a big talent strategy or big programs that would take them away from their day-to-day job. And that can create a culture of growth and a culture that empowers continuous learning.
Mohammed, the culture is something that is often talked about, but it's a very difficult discussion. And the reason why I say that is that working in a small business or even a medium or even a large size business, and when training becomes important, when the workplace evolves and the new technologies come in and the new systems and so on and so forth. As I said earlier, everybody's doing more with less these days, and they've got busy days to begin with, and then it feels for some that we've got to do all this training on top of it, and it can create a bit of resentment there.
Yes, look, I think what you're mentioning is real and is part of it's part of kind of the change management of some of these items coming up. But I think what's also important to mention is that investing in skilling your people now is not just a nice to have anymore. So I'm going to share with you what I mean by that.
Sure.
The ADP research people at work study has revealed that when workers do feel strongly their employer is investing in their skills development, they're 6 times more likely than others to recommend their company as a great place to work. 6 times more. 3.3 times more likely to describe themselves as highly productive. And twice, and this one resonates a lot with me, twice more likely to say they have no intent to leave. So now let's think about that. That means that you're just by investing in training your people and upskilling their people, you double the chance that they're going to stay with you. The cost of an employee leaving for a small business, especially for a small business, is hugely significant. They don't have 100,000 people. If somebody can go, it's okay, you can continue. It's significant impact for you right away. You have to onboard a new person. It takes them 5, 6 to 9 months in order to become as productive, and you can immediately see the impact on your bottom line. So yes, I think it's important that we create that culture, and from a day-to-day perspective, we might not be able to have time to invest in it, but the cost of not investing in that far outweighs the investment cost, because it will significantly impact on the business results immediately.
Interesting stuff, Mohammed. I appreciate your time, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
That is Mohammed Basma. He is with ADP Canada. He's the Vice President of Small Business Services. We're all there, right? We all understand it. And I can speak from the confines of the studio here that the workload is still there, but the training is getting put on top of it. I think the trick is to make the training benefit the workload. If you're making people do training that they don't think is important, if they don't think is going to help them in their day-to-day, then they're not going to likely want to do it. And then it becomes counterproductive. Right? We're all been there. We all get the email or the note from the boss that says, hey, you have to complete XYZ training, right? And you're like, but I've got 100 other things I got to do first. But you got to do this or whatever, right? And we've all been there. But as Mohammed said, the workplace is, I don't think I've ever seen a workplace evolving as quickly as it is now, with the advent of new technology and new systems and new workflows. It's difficult to keep up with. And as I mentioned, some of us, and I'm holding my hand up very high, aren't 20 anymore. And some of us are set in our ways, as Vanessa will tell you that I am. So it's a big challenge, but I think he's correct. I think that, having an engaged employee, having somebody that, is feels like the training is valuable and feels like the training is going to improve their standing and maybe improve their job, maybe improve their pay, is probably going to stick around if it's good training. If it's not, it just becomes a hindrance. We're going to stop. We're going to take another break. Blake is coming in to update us on what's going on in the news. On the other side of it, our weekly chat with our good friend from Summa Strategies and Abacus Data. That's Tim Powers. What's going on in federal politics? Well, there's a lot going on, and we're going to dig into it. You're listening to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Olstrand. We're back in minutes. Welcome back to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Olstrand. Hope you're having a fantastic Friday as we look into the long weekend. It's here. You can see it. You can touch it. You can feel it. It is upon us. And I know many of you are looking forward to spending some time with friends and family and enjoying Nova Scotia where we can, of course, because let's not forget, we can't go into the woods or go on hikes or do any of that stuff. And Halifax Water is asking us to behave ourselves with water consumption because it doesn't seem that the voluntary measures are doing a whole lot. And I don't think we want to go down the road of mandatory water restrictions, but it is a long weekend, and I know many of you are looking forward to it. It has been a week in federal politics, that is for sure. The Prime Minister jumping on the company plane and heading over to Europe and spending some time in Germany and Latvia and Ukraine with his checkbook in hand, and Pierre Poilievre back on the national scene after his by-election win in Alberta, and now he's trumpeting a Carney carbon tax 2.0. It's ramping up as we get into September, and I know there's one person out there that's keeping a very close watch on all of it, and that is our good friend from Summa Strategies and Abacus Data, and New England Patriot fan that's looking forward to seeing Tommy DeVito behind center. What? Anyway, that's Tim Powers.
He's no Tommy Brady. He's no Tommy Brady, Dan. No. Look, I think I am good. I'm looking forward to the weekend as well. I'm going to be obsessed with the Blue Jays this weekend. I've jumped on that bandwagon, and they're playing the Brewers, toughest team in the American League right now.
And you can catch all of that right here on 95.7 News Radio.
There you go. Look, we set up a promo. Maybe you'll get to ride on the Rogers Company jet. Maybe a trip to the Rogers Center. You never know, Dan.
One day, just one day, I'd like to sit in that box.
Well, you keep doing the great job that you are. I'm sure you will.
All right. Well, it comes with the Tim Powers seal of approval.
Indeed, for what that's worth, a whole lot of nothing. But there you go.
Prime Minister Carney bringing the checkbook with him on the company jet as he went over to Europe, spending $2 billion in Ukraine, and now looking at like 12 submarines from Germany, and committing Canadian troops to 3 years, more years in Latvia. It's been a busy week for Mr. Carney.
Yeah, I mean, part of that, a lot of that obviously is trying to diversify and expand trade opportunities, none of which happens quickly. I think the thing that is interesting maybe for our region, Atlantic Canada, out of that trip was the government now saying, or this government, the Trudeau government certainly was no fan of it, that LNG is on their radar and they want to do something with it. The Energy Minister, Tim Hodgson, pushing that very hard, and certainly, as we know, Dan, in Atlantic Canada, if this is real, that could be good, but it's not going to happen quickly. Carney has taken the prime ministerial motorcade and run all over Justin Trudeau, because you remember Trudeau used to say no business case for LNG. So that for the region, I think, is interesting, as are the subs. Like, the thing I find fascinating with the subs, because every time we hear a date in related to Canadian procurement, we shall also take it with a grain of salt, but apparently we're aiming to get, some of the 12 new subs by 2035. They say it should be possible because some of them are already under construction. So let's see, because remember the last time we bought subs didn't go so well.
I absolutely do. They're from our friends in the UK.
Yep. Caught on fire, couldn't dive. I was talking to a military person this week, and they said, can you guess how many operating subs we have right now, Dan?
One, I think.
That is it? Yeah, one. Yeah. One. Well, it's going to do a lot of good for us. Well, a lot of good.
I just wonder, by the time we get these submarines, the battlefield is evolving, and I just wonder if they'll be obsolete by the time the Canadian Navy actually puts their feet in them.
Could be, but we can't plan that way, I guess. And underwater drones, I assume, will be better than they are now. So we're heading. The upside is it could be some work on the East Coast if it all comes to pass. We don't build submarines in Canada, which I've always found fascinating because you got a great shipyard there and Halifax, and of course one in St. John for years. But we don't build them because we just have never built them. But apparently the Prime Minister suggested we might have a significant maintenance facility in Canada. So could be good. Could. But again, with procurement, could never happen too.
Well, because we know the procurement process is fantastic in Canada.
It's outstanding. It's as good as Todd's New York Jets.
There you are. I knew it was coming.
I had to get it in.
I knew it was coming. Anyway, I mentioned earlier Pierre Poilievre is back on the national scene now that he's secured his seat in the House of Commons, and Axe the Tax is back again, 2.0.
Yeah, this is related to the fuel standard, the clean fuel standards that Canada is bringing in. I mean, I guess he's just going to keep going to the well. The challenge, though, for him is Carney might do what he did last time, just like, all right, you know what, maybe you're right. I'm going to axe that too. And he doesn't get the political credit for it. Not a lot of change in Pierre Poilievre's tone, and I think that's not unexpected, I should say, at the moment, because he's still got to win a party-mandated leadership review in January, and a lot of his hardcore supporters like his forceful, showboating that he does that gets attention. Certainly got him to attract a lot of young people last time because they felt he had a laser focus on affordability. But I don't know how, I don't know what it says about what he's learned since the federal election campaign.
And that was my next question. Are we going to see the same kind of bluster from Mr. Poilievre once we get through January and he secures his base and he secures his job? Do you think we see the same? Well, it worked once, right? Almost worked once. We had pretty good lead in the polls there at one point.
Yeah, I honestly don't know. I think if he is hoping that again, time will be on his side. Last time it was, well, people are tired of Justin Trudeau and nobody in recent history has elected a 4-term government. So why would they win? And the Liberals changed their leader and they won. So if his thinking is, well, they'll grow tired of Mark Carney and nobody will elect a government for a 5th time, I think you got to have more than that in your tank. I think you also need to recognize the challenge now in the landscape, and it may change by the time the next election comes, but the NDP aren't draining votes away from the Liberals because they're so weak at the moment. Poilievre either needs to see them strengthen themselves and or find a way to take votes away from Liberals. And a lot of progressive Conservatives, you will know them in Atlantic Canada and elsewhere, are reasonably comfortable with Carney, and they like a more serious tone and not just the showboating.
You and I are of a vintage, Tim, where we remember
fine wines, Dan. Fine wines.
We remember what it was like, and I know there's a bit of a resurgence in vinyl records, but we remember what it was like when we'd get that skip in the record and we'd hear the same thing over and over again. It's what I think of when I hear the latest news out of Washington with Dominic LeBlanc visiting with Howard Lutnick, and we had a productive meeting. Really? Are they productive?
Next, you're going to bring back the old Columbia House subscription form.
I hear they're still looking for you, right? You still owe them money.
They may be. I may owe them $11. It's probably $5,000 now. Who knows? You can't find me, though, Columbia House, if you even exist. Dominic LeBlanc Canada has to go through the motions. They have to go down. They have to do the meetings. They have to do all of that. But it's just until something is done, a meeting's a meeting. Whether, we can gauge it was more positive or not, or it didn't last as long. It's until Trump decides that he's prepared to do something, meeting Howard Lutnick is probably a painful 90 minutes for Dominic LeBlanc, but you got to go through the motions, I suppose.
Are we going to get a deal before the Kuzma deal is renegotiated, or is this just really, for show?
That I don't know. I mean, I think it's so dependent on how Trump is feeling domestically and if people are feeling the pain. Though we took off a lot of the countervailing tariffs, so some of the pain may be less. But alcohol, Ontario's not taking back Ontario booze at the moment, so that whether Ontarians drink enough wine and bourbon to change the state of affairs, I don't know. I'm just it's too hard. Trump is too hard to predict where he may go with all of this. I mean, he seems distracted now on putting the military or the National Guard in the big cities and stopping the burning of the flag and God knows what else. So who knows where he spirals to next? Dan, how's that for scintillating and on the money analysis for you this morning?
Well, it is a long weekend. We're on the cusp of the Labor Day long weekend. I mean, it's forgivable, right?
Thanks, buddy. Thanks. I
Any
appreciate
big plans?
That
you heading home for the long weekend, sir?
I was just there 2 weeks ago, and the place, as I said to Todd, I've never smelt air like that. Landed and smelt smoke for the first time ever. No, here in glorious Ontario for the weekend, unfortunately.
Tim, always a pleasure, sir. Talk to you next week.
Take care, buddy. Bye.
That is Tim Powers from Summa Strategies and Abacus Data. All right, we're going to continue our look at Halifax Transit when we come back from the break. We're going to dig deeper into some concerns being raised about the state of transit in the city and a survey that is underway for transit riders, a conversation with Halifax Transit's executive director when we come back. You're listening to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand. Back in minutes. Welcome back to the Todd Veinotte Show. If you've been following the show this week, you know we've had a couple of conversations with regards to Halifax Transit. On the open hour on Monday, we had a discussion about air conditioning on board the buses and some of the concerns that riders were raising. And then I think it was Wednesday, we had a chat with the president of the Amalgamated Transit Union, local, I think it's 506, and they have concerns as well. Some drivers, according to the union, have been impacted so much by the heat on the buses that some have been taken off and taken to the hospital. So we thought it appropriate to continue the conversation and have a chat with the person responsible for Halifax Transit here in HRM, and that is Executive Director Robin Garris. Robin, how are you?
Good morning, Dan, and I'm doing fine, and thank you for the opportunity to talk to yourself and our customers.
Oh, it's our pleasure. Robin, I guess the first question is, when you first started, you said you were going to ride the bus every day. Are you still doing that?
I'm still riding the buses. I did not bring a car here. I live downtown. I love talking to our customers, and yes, I'm riding the vehicles. And I'm experiencing the same concerns that some of our customers are, and I'm hearing them and listening to them, and I'm bringing back lots of information to my management team. So, yes, I am, and I'm enjoying it.
What have you been told? What have you been experiencing about the air conditioning on our buses?
So I'm hearing the same thing that a lot of transit properties at this time of year are hearing, is that they're not happy with it. It's not working. It's defective. It's a large conversation in terms of how best to handle air conditioning when it's really hot outside. And first and foremost, I'd like to start by saying that I hear what our customers are saying. I hear what our employees are saying. And our priority is obviously our employees' well-being and making sure that we're doing the best for our customers. Air conditioning is in the summertime is just as important as heat in the wintertime. It's concerning, and when it gets really, really hot outside, it's tough to manage it. But hopefully I can answer some of the questions in terms of how we can better handle air conditioning for the future. But I do know that it's a difficult conversation. We strive to do the best we can. There's some challenges, but what would you like to know about our struggles with air conditioning?
Well, Robin, as I understand it, and having conversations with the ATU, they told us that the contracting for maintenance on the air conditioners unit is done outside of Halifax Transit. Is that the case? And if it is, should that be inside?
So I've been here now, you probably know. I think I'm finishing off my 7th month here, and I'm having a great time, and I'm enjoying it. There has been some contract work on our air conditioning units for our Nova and Flyer buses over the years. We do have a contract. First thing I mentioned when I got here in talking to my fleet department was the same concern I had when I worked for TTC in Toronto, as well as the city of Guelph. Get started as soon as you can. So we started as early as January in prepping, doing some prep work, and getting the contractors to come in and do work for us, knowing that we would be struggling. Nobody knew how hot or warm the summer would be. From what I understand, not being this is my first year here, my first summer. From what I understand, this is a little abnormal. It is excessively warm this year. I will tell you that my management team is working with the vendor very as hard as they can to get the work done. Part of the struggles is that when it's hot, it's hard to keep up with the demand. So we've talked about some strides that we can take. As of now, the end of August, 80% of our entire fleet has working air conditioning on it, but daily we have buses that are signed in with air conditioning issues. The vendor is working as hard as they can. We've asked them to step it up. We did have an issue in terms of providing parts. We've had a number of vehicles that were out of service and waiting for parts. And when that happens, we have a process in place. Number one, we are going to bring that work in-house. I find it that the best managed air conditioning issues is when you can bring that in-house. You may have heard that we've struggled with some vacancies in terms of mechanics, so we're working through that. We're getting our numbers to where they need to be now, and I'm very hopeful that we are already doing some of the work in-house, but we're going to continue getting everybody trained, getting the equipment we need, so that next year we can go head on into the struggles and make sure that we're doing the best job we can for our air conditioning in the summer.
So, Robin, so just to be clear, you're going to bring the air conditioner maintenance in-house and hope to have that by next summer?
My goal is to work as fast as we can to get most of this work done in-house. I will tell you in my past that as we expedite it towards that means that there's a time period where people are getting properly trained, getting the equipment in place. We may have a period of time where we have a vendor helping us, but as soon as possible, I want to manage this problem in-house. It's our problem. Our people, our unionized employees are the best ones to be doing the work as far as I'm concerned. We need to get the skills, knowledge, and abilities, get the time for them to do it. And I believe that by bringing it in-house, we're going to do a much better job for our customers.
Robin, we had a conversation with the ATU earlier this week about this. And one of the concerns the president raised, who said that he himself had been taken off the bus over the years in an ambulance because of heat exhaustion, that there, particularly and I stand to be corrected, but I think he said even the new buses, the air conditioning is just it's an on or an off. They're unable to adjust the temperature. Is that the fact, and can that be changed?
Well, first off, I have a great relationship with Patricio, and I value that relationship, and I want to continue building relationships with the union. That's why I go out there and ride the buses, and I visit the car houses and our bus garages and talk to the people as well as the people that work on our ferry system. So yeah, I have a great relationship with him. I know that he has some concern in regards to the causes and effects with our employees. I will tell you that the information that I have, I'm not aware of anybody this year that has been taken off in an ambulance and has gone to a hospital. Now, that doesn't mean that someone hasn't been taken off or called an ambulance on their own when they were off the bus or went to their own doctor and ended up at the hospital. I don't know about those specific cases, but I do know that so far this year we've had 18 incidents that were recorded at transit with our supervisory staff, and none of those incidents required an ambulance or to go to the hospital that I am aware of.
Okay.
There may be outliers that I'm not aware of, but I am not aware of any of those. Most cases call for a water break, and then they continue. In some extreme cases, we take the bus out of service. Obviously, the health of our employees is first and foremost. Nobody should ever be forced to drive a vehicle that's too hot or to do any work that is deemed unsafe. We do have a extreme heat policy that at transit that we try to adhere to, and our supervisory staff are available and dispatched and monitor and do the best job they can to handle that. Again, nobody is forced to do any of that work that they don't feel safe. And We try to treat it with proper rest with water, give them breaks. If they feel they can go back and the supervisor deems it safe, we allow them to. If the bus is deemed to have a defective air conditioning unit, we try our best to change it off. Like I said earlier, we have had at times where we've had some buses out of service waiting for parts. And in terms of balancing making service for our customers, if we do need to use a vehicle with a broken air conditioning unit or a defective air conditioning unit, we try to put them on what we call swing runs, which is a piece of work that goes out early in the morning and comes out early, comes back in early, so that it's not out all day and it's not out in the extreme heat. If something is deemed defective during the day, we try to change those vehicles off to proper vehicles. There is a balance. Sometimes it gets to the point where operators are calling in and complaining. We deal with that the best that we can. We do care about them, and we do want to make sure that we're doing the best we can. And again, if we have to, if a bus has to come out of service, it has to. We try to make sure we finish the run off if we can. But ultimately, the transit operator is in charge of his vehicle, and I want my management team to listen to what they're saying. And if they can't operate, then I don't want them operating. We'll take the bus out of service. But we have had occasions where some buses have gone out with waiting for parts or defective services on early swing runs so that we can get them off as soon as possible, trying to balance the need for our service standards to make service and to accommodate our customers, but not at the sake of an operator who doesn't feel comfortable driving that vehicle.
Robin, we're almost out of time. Only got about a minute left. Another concern that was raised by callers to the program was safety and security on the bus. I asked the union if it was time for transit police. They seem to be leaning towards that. What is your thoughts? Should we have uniformed transit police on board Halifax transit buses?
That's another well talked about challenge for transit. All transit properties have experienced those types of security issues on buses. I will tell you, in the short time that I've been here, my management team and myself we've engaged with Halifax Police and the RCMP. We've already had a meeting. We are forming better relationships than I believe we've ever had to talk about the pinch points and trouble spots. We are working with them the best we can to address some of the issues. Yes, we do have issues that require an enhanced police presence and or security presence. You may be aware we do have supervisors at our terminals now. We do have security at our terminal now, as well as we do have a HRP police liaison that works with us to try to talk about those trouble points. I also have one of my directors on the Canadian Urban Transit Association Security Committee that works talking about trends in Canadian transit properties and how we can address those trends. We are also talking about possible bylaw enforcement strategies. Obviously, you may or may not be aware that we have the transit code that was brought into effect that talks about service reliability and the respect of safety, courtesy, and respect for all people who use transit. But yes, to answer your question, there, from what I understand, prior to me arriving here and since I've been here, there are some issues that we would like to address better, and that's why we're working with the police, and we're going to continue doing that, and we're going to continue trying to make sure that we take the proper steps so that all of our customers feel safe on all of our vehicles, including the ferry system, moving forward. That's what I came here for, to try to make transit better in Halifax, and that's my goal.
Robin, I appreciate it. We're out of time. We'll have to do this again soon.
Call back anytime. I love talking to my customers, and thank you to all the transit operators, the union management relationships, and the support that I get from everybody in the city of Halifax, including our council members, to try to make transit great here at Halifax.
Thanks, Robin. That is Robin Garris, the Halifax Transit Executive Director. We will venture to have him back on to answer some more questions with regards to Halifax Transit. Need to stop down? News is next. You're listening to the Todd Veinotte Show. We're back in minutes.
Axe.
All right, and welcome back to the Todd Veinotte Show. It is the fabulous Friday edition, and it is the end of summer. I know that's just depressing for some, but I thought it appropriate, mostly because we've had a lot of depressing news out there as of late. I mentioned yesterday that we were going to change up today's open hour just a little bit, with this weekend being the unofficial end of summer. Vanessa and I thought it would be fun to ask you to tell us some good news this time around. Something really great happened this summer. Did you get some good service, or did you see a story that was inspiring to you? Did you discover something new this year? I know many people stayed in Nova Scotia this summer. Is the old staycation because of some of the ongoing problems with the United States and looking to not travel. I know that a lot of us spend a lot of time visiting here and in the Maritimes and in Nova Scotia. Let's do a good news edition of the Open Hour. We're really not sure how well this is going to go over, but I thought it would be appropriate to do something fun as we head into the long weekend here of the Labor Day long weekend, as we turn the page on another summer season and we head into the season of fall. The number is 902-405-6000. It's 902-405-6000, or if you like, 1-877-801-8255. Let's get some good news out there. And we welcome Don to the program. Don, how are you?
Good morning, Dan.
What's on your mind today?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear, sir.
You can hear me, I take it?
Yeah.
I just want to say I love the hot weather that we've had in the last month or so, and I really enjoy it because, we have so much weather of fall weather and not even good winter. We don't even have winter. We have more of fall weather most of the year. But the other thing I'd like to say to you, which would cheer people up a lot more,
sure,
is I don't know why you are saying that summer is over. We know that when I was learning about the seasons of the year, they last for 3 months. And September is always a beautiful month of summer weather.
It is.
And the fall doesn't start till the 21st of September.
Yep.
So we still got 3 weeks of summer yet.
But this weekend is the unofficial end of summer. Kids are going back to school. People are getting back into their regular routines. That's kind of the way I'm going with it.
Summer's over, though. It's not over. You know how September is. It's a beautiful month.
Right. October can be nice, too.
Summer. What's that?
October can be nice, too.
October can be beautiful, the first 2 weeks especially.
Right.
But because they always used to call it, when I was growing up, the first 2 weeks of October was always called Indian summer. I don't know if you've ever heard of that before. But anyway, I like to know that summer is still here yet, and it makes me feel a lot better. Even though kids are going back to school, I like to feel that summer is still till the 21st of September. Anyway, you have a good long weekend.
You too, sir. Appreciate it. Good way to kick it off. 902-405-6000. We're doing it a little different today here on the Open Hour. We're looking for some good news stories, some happy news as we drift off into the Labor Day long weekend. A few lines are open if you want to join the program. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Let's carry on the conversation with Dave. Dave, how are you?
Yes, good morning, Dan. You're going to lose a lot of your listeners because of happy news.
Well, I just thought it would be fun to change things up for once, right? We'll get back to it on Tuesday.
That's right. I had a highlight this summer, many actually, and I will actually, your last caller, reiterate the weather. Since I've moved here from Vancouver in 2000, 25 years, this has been clearly the best summer weather-wise for me, in my opinion. We just got to quit starting fires, that's all. Because we're going to look back and we're going to, and of course, I think September, October is our best time of the year here.
My favorite time of the year, actually.
I've been here.
Yep.
It will be, yes, I agree. But the summer was amazing. You can actually count on the weather this summer. You know what I mean? You can do things. So my highlight, I guess, in one of many, because I've been able to do the beach scene a lot, and beautiful, great place to head down to if you have the chance and sit on the beautiful beaches we have. Remarkable beaches, some of the best in the world. It's just a shame that the water was colder, but maybe that keeps the folks away. So we went on a boat. Sorry, yeah, I mean, the water is cold.
It is. It's freezing cold. Yes.
It is it's freezing cold. Sometimes you can get a good current. Depends where you are, but in general, you go to Crystal Crescent, which again is just an outstanding beach. You get up there, you see people come in from who haven't been from Nova Scotia or whatever, and they're just touring around. And you look over Crystal Crescent there, which isn't far from the city, Dan.
No.
It's only like 20 minutes.
Not even.
It's a hop, skip, and a jump. It's just a gift of a place. And I've got other beaches I go to, which I'm not going to reveal because once you let the secret out, it's, you know, you're going to have everybody heading
It's like
there.
a fishing hole, right? You don't want to give away your good fishing spots.
Exactly. But we did a boat cruise out on the harbor. I don't get downtown enough lately. It kind of scares me with all the construction. But I was impressed with that area there, Cogswell, wherever they took out those ramps.
The Cogswell exchange, yep.
Very impressive how quickly they got that done. I'm amazed. And once they get that ironed out and what have you. But we did a boat cruise on the harbor, and it was at night. So we caught and shout out to the people that handled it, crew and what have you. Can't remember the name, wouldn't probably say it anyways, but they were class. So anyways, we get on there. It's a wedding, right? Young people. We decided to go, my wife and I. And being out there in the evening, they did the arm. And some of the homes, the beauty of our harbor.
Right.
So anyways, coming back, Dan, at night, which is a rarity for me to be downtown at night, period, and seeing our skyline on both sides of the water, and 2 cruise ships were in town. I think one was just heading out, because they head out usually later in the day, right? And I think there were 2 just moving out of the harbor. It was just fantastic. I shout out to our beautiful city and the developing and what have you, and the boardwalk too, Dan, if you haven't been down there lately. Wow, what a nice treat it is on the harbor to be down there. And at night, it was amazing, just a beautiful skyline. So, you know, that's my plus for the city and what have you. We've done a remarkable job, I think, and we as, you know, folks and taxpayers that goes into our city, I would highly recommend get down there in the evening and try some of the restaurants and what have you, because it's a beautiful city. We have a lot happening here. I'm really excited about Halifax, and in many ways. There are some detriments as well, but that's part of progress, I guess, Dan.
And we'll tackle those on Tuesday. Dave, great call. I appreciate it. Have a fantastic long weekend.
And you too, Dan. Thanks for taking my call. Cheers.
902-405-6000, 902-405-6000. A good news edition of the Open Hour on a Friday. You're listening to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand. We are back in minutes. Welcome back to the Todd Veinotte Show. I called it the Fabulous Friday edition earlier in the program today. Maybe we should call it the Feel Good Friday edition, because we are trying to feel good heading into that Labor Day long weekend. And I'm putting quotes around this, unofficial end of summer, the last hurrah before we get back into our regular routines. I've been driving in, which I don't normally do. Normally I drive in the morning at 4 o'clock, and there's never any traffic. But driving in to do the show this week, traffic has been very light. So I know many of you have been either working from home over the last couple of months as you enjoy summer. Many of you have taken vacation time, and you know, I'm not suggesting that summer is ending. I think it's the unofficial end of vacation season for most, particularly the tourists that visit us every summer as we roll through the long weekend. So we thought it would be fun, and we thought it would be something different to do a good news edition of the Open Hour, and you can join the conversation. It's simple as dialing the numbers 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. To the phones, we welcome Jim to the air. Jim, how are you?
Dan, good morning. How are you?
I'm good. What's on your mind today?
Well, I was just going to tell you, besides being in the ocean, because St. Margaret's Bay out here, the temperatures crept up to about 19-ish and hotter in some spots, or being on the ocean, whether you can hop on a paddleboard or hop in a rowboat, between sunsets at Peggy's Cove, and if you Google moonrise for Halifax, you can catch a sunset sometimes, and then 20 minutes later, you look exactly behind you and you see the moon coming up at Peggy's Cove. But just to say what we've been doing last night, we had we had a projector. It's under $200, and we did an outdoor movie night on the sheet outside under the stars, and it was fabulous. We loved it. And Dan, I'll give you a tip for the movie we watched last night.
Sure.
Little Kidnappers, 1990. It was filmed in Nova Scotia. Mm-hmm. 35 years ago. It had Charlton Heston in it, and it's just a fabulous, fabulous period piece, filmed in Nova Scotia, great family movie. Another one we watched previously, but not outside, Pirate's Passage, that Donald Sutherland produced, which was a cartoon, and it's his love letter to Nova Scotia. Of course, we lost Donald Sutherland not long ago.
Right.
And it's just nice to get out and if, flick on a movie outside. I'll tell you one last thing, Dan. We ran into a Hollywood actor down in Hubbard's about a month ago. And all I did, he was from the States, and I just went over and said, look, I said, thanks for coming up to Nova Scotia, spending time here, spending money here. I didn't want to bother him. And he said, do you guys realize what you have here? And
I think we forget that a lot, right? We do forget that a lot.
And humbly, only because I'm getting up there in age, I said, we do, but we don't brag it. Like, we just appreciate whether it's the fall season, the valley, the vineyards, the ocean, the waterfront, and the people that will do anything for you. Like people in the Maritimes, when times are worse, people are at their best. But he said, like, he almost had a tear in his eye. He said, you guys realize what you have up here, how special it is up here. And I said, we're very fortunate. I said, we're very blessed. And it was just anyway. It's it's hard to put into words. But I'm going to be hitting the beach today later on. The outdoor movie was awesome, and we are very, very blessed. I love your premise for the show. Because, there's a lot of noise out there, but this is the type of show, believe it or not, that kind of rejuvenates me. And, we're welcoming here in Atlantic Canada. We welcomed Syrian refugees. We welcomed Ukrainian refugees, acts of kindness, simple acts of kindness. Hello, welcome to Nova Scotia. We're very, very blessed with with what we have here. But, and Dan, good job on what you're doing. You're good at what you do.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it. Have a fantastic weekend.
You too. Take care. Bye-bye.
9024. That was a very interesting and great point, right? I know sometimes we forget about it, and I know that, sometimes, and I almost hate to say it, we take it for granted where we live. And I say it quite often to get out there and enjoy Nova Scotia because we're so lucky to live where we do. But it's calls like Jim's that kind of reinforces that. And like people spend thousands of dollars to come here to experience what we can every day. We're so very lucky to live in Nova Scotia. Let's carry on the conversation. We welcome David to the program. David, how are you?
Good morning, Dan. Once again, I thought I'd call you in again. I still feel like $1 million.
Well, that's great. That's a good way to feel.
I've got another one that Jim forgot to mention there about movies made in Nova Scotia.
Sure.
K-19.
Yep.
With Harrison Ford.
Yep.
And another one I like to bring on is we got to get Sean Cleary back. We got to go in for round 2.
Well, we'll focus on that on Tuesday, all right?
And one more thing before I go. I'm quite sure everybody heard that just shortly after that Todd snuck off to Las Vegas and he got married.
He did. There's a picture of it right here on the desk.
And congratulations to Kelly and Todd. Hope you're having a great vacation, and we'll see you back in another week.
All right, David. Appreciate it. Have a great long weekend.
You're doing a great job, Dan.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Have a good
All
one.
right,
902-405-6000. It's 902-405-6000. I want to say thanks, to all of you for putting up with me for the last week. But I'd also like to say thanks to all of the firefighters, both from here and abroad, for their efforts in the and with the Long Lake wildfire and the Bears Lake wildfire. That one was really close to my house, so I'm very appreciative of them. Also, listening to that news, did you listen to the news conference yesterday? The firefighting officials are overwhelmed by the number of people that are putting their hats into the ring, so to speak, to help and volunteer. There's an army of volunteers out there that are putting their lives on hold. They're cooking, they're driving, they're doing whatever they can to help with the effort there. And, of course, we're keeping the families in our thoughts that have lost their homes or outbuildings or that are evacuated. But, we hear it a lot. We hear and the Premier uses it a lot, that blue noser spirit, right? That being from Nova Scotia, wrapping your arms around Nova Scotians when the time is of need. But here's a perfect example of that, and I think that those people need to be recognized for their just selfless acts. It's awe-inspiring, to be quite honest. To the phones, we welcome Bill to the show. Bill, how are you?
Well, I can't say that I'm happy.
Okay.
I'm draggy, but I'll just get my little spiel off here.
Sure.
A couple of things first, and I'll come to the main thing. Talking the other day about getting that flag up there on top of it. I hate to repeat this thing again, but here's the answer for these people that have a problem trying to figure out how to get up there. You get a backhoe. You sit in the backhoe. The bucket goes up. You put the flag up, and you leave it there for about a month at a time. And again, like I say, the flag would have to be something that you're not going to be controversial, such as Victorian era or whatever. I'd assign the flag there for the idea that it's about 9 different scenes in the public garden. So that's that one. You get in the bucket, you get up there, and you put the thing there, and it's all over. So that's that one. This I can't get over our boss man up in Ottawa bringing this idea of a bunch of submarines in 1960. What is it? In 1935. 1935. $60 billion. Billion, they were talking. And then another big purchase down in the States, are planes. I mean, these systems are obsolete right now. So that's that one. Basically, I'd like to be happy, but I don't know. I've got a couple of voids in my life. It's business and so on. I'll tell you what I'm really lacking to bring my life back together. And it's been a couple of years now since I had a serious. What am I doing here? A serious lady friend in my business and with me to finish up. I'm 96 now, and I'm lacking, and it's so I get rid of my stress and get on your show. And so, but other than that, Todd, I'm seriously lacking a good friendship. So that's my confession today.
Oh, Bill, we're friends with you, and we always will be. Appreciate the call. Have a good long weekend.
Yeah, okay. We're gonna hang in, though.
Hang in there, sir. 902-405-6000. It's 902-405-6000. 96 years old and still going at it. That's Bill. We're going to continue the good news segment of the open hour after the news. Something you want to share, some good news on a Friday heading into a long weekend. So you're listening to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand. We're back in minutes. Welcome back to the Todd Veinotte Show. I am Dan Alstrand. We thought it would be fun to ask you to tell us some good news on this Friday as we head into the long weekend. Something really great happened to you this summer. Did you get some great service or want to send a shout out to somebody who you think deserves it? Like I mentioned before the break with the firefighters out there in the Annapolis Valley. Here's your opportunity. 902-405-6000. It's 902-405-6000. Let's get back to the phones. And welcome Barry to the show. Barry, how are you?
Not too bad. Tourists over the years told me the Maritimes is an incredible place. At some time of year, you can do almost anything in the Maritimes. Like, it's not the Alps, but we've got place for skiing. We've got our valley we've got almost every kind of condition you can find somewhere in the world at some time in the season in the Maritimes.
Yes, sir.
Not many places have that.
No, we're very lucky.
And right now, we're heading into the fall. And, back in the 70s, when they built the Life Science Building at Dell, they put an air conditioning system into a chill system for the water they were using for experiments. If the temperature went above 60, from the harbor, we didn't have to use any air conditioning till the fall. Every fall, that's the only time it ran.
Right.
The water around Nova Scotia is warmest September, maybe early October, which means it's still a wonderful time that you can swim.
Absolutely. It's the best time.
It's a risk for hurricanes, but actually, that's a real bonus. And what people used to do, and I don't know if they're still, well, I wouldn't recommend going to the States, but in the fall, a lot of people get the grandparents that used to look after their kids, and they could go for a vacation between a husband and a wife, like a second honeymoon, and you used to get the off-season rates, which you also get to do it cheaper.
Yep.
Which, well, you can still do it by staying in Canada. And, this is a really wonderful time of year. And, we really don't take advantage. People today, I don't think, take advantage of it as much as because they're thinking about the wintertime of going to Cuba. Or it used to be the States or somewhere else. But, we've never utilized it the way we should have. And I think maybe now we're going to start doing it a little more.
Barry, great. Sure, quickly. Yep. Yeah, quickly.
If it's yellow, let it mellow. If it's brown, flush it down.
You got it. Water restrictions. We got to do it before they're mandatory.
Right on.
Barry, have a great long weekend, sir. 902-405-6000 is the number, 902-405-6000. It's a little secret, right? Like, everybody comes here in June, July, and August because it's the traditional tourist season, and they go to Crystal Crescent or they go to Rainbow Haven or they go to a beach, and that's the biggest complaint I get from family that come to visit here is that the water is so darn cold. But it's like September into October. It's still not Caribbean warm, but it's certainly swimmable. 902-405-6000 is the number. Let's welcome Bonnie, a first-time caller to the program. Bonnie, how are you?
Not too bad. Happy Friday, Todd.
Happy Friday. What's on your mind?
Sorry, Dan.
It's all right.
What's on my mind is the end of May, I found out that I was 3 years in remission for lung cancer.
Awesome.
So it sort of made my summer.
Right. Good for you.
Yes. So that's my happy news.
That is happy. It's fantastic news, Bonnie. Appreciate you sharing that with us.
Thank you.
Have a great long weekend. 902-405-6000. It's 902-405-6000. Do you have something you'd like to share? Somebody you'd like to send a shout out to? A story of something maybe you've discovered this year, spending more time in the province? It seems to be the trend or the topic du jour that we're very lucky to live where we are, and I know it gets lost in the shuffle a lot. We talk about all kinds of depressing and very serious and things that are worth talking about here on the Open Hour, but every once in a while it's good to just take a step back and take a look at some of the good news and the good things that are happening. And Bonnie's call is exactly what we're talking about here. 902-405-6000 is the number. 902-405-6000. We welcome Williams to the program. How are you?
Hello.
What's on your mind?
Oh, well, fantastic. I'm a first-time caller.
Oh, I appreciate that.
I live in Halifax, HRM, in Gordon B. Eisner. And we're talking about our heroes fighting the war on the forest fires.
Yes, sir.
I'm a bit of an inventor, and I've invented a safety cigarette.
What?
A safety cigarette.
Okay, how does that work?
Okay, you get yourself a tube.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I volunteer for Mainline. You know what that is?
No.
Mi'kmaq program?
Yes, actually, I do know what it is, yes.
Yeah, now they give you glass stints, right? And they're basically a glass tube that's well finished. Okay, you get that, and you can wrap it, with a bit of tape because they are brittle and they break, but they're finished. You take your cigarette, take the filter off, you shove the end in and give it a little twist, and it'll slide right in there. It's perfect size. And then you light it and smoke it and watch the smoke come in, and when you're done, it'll go out on its own or go right in the tip of that glass tube. And you do nothing with it. You see? And it'll go out. Or you can smoke it to the end. Irregardless, that fire is contained in that glass tube to dispose of when it's safe. if you're smoking in the car and you develop and use this system, and by the way, not only a glass tube can be done, I've made them out of wood, which are really handy because they don't break
Right.
when you drop them. But the glass tube is, you can see what's going on. Okay, so it's gone out now. You're in the car smoking. Do you flick out the window like everybody does and totally unconscious? The thing rolls off the highway, still sparking, and where we go. Forest fire, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. You keep that in your car and roll down the window, let the smoke out, and you hold on to that glass tube and let her go out. And when you're ready, you can dip it in some water. You don't have to. Or if you are in a condition like you're walking in the woods and it's very, very high temperature and you've got a forest fire, thing like that, you apply this system, and when it goes out, you just keep hold of that until you get somewhere wet and put it down. Now, that's not the end. How you finish up is you relight it, and then you blow it out, and the tobacco that's remaining comes out like a pea shooter into a glass of water, into a lake, into any damp area. There you go. Never, ever have a hot butt fall into a potential fire.
Nova Scotia ingenuity. Williams, I appreciate it, sir. Have a fantastic long weekend.
I want to shout out to all I listen to your show, First Con Tolerance, and I listen to this station, and the people on here who they're heroes, really. They come in and they share their comments. Now, one of the biggest ones, if I might add, is the bike lane. We already have a rule. We don't need bike lanes. It's 1.5 all around a bicycle, wherever it is, a car must give that distance. It's a safe distance. Now, we're not the Netherlands. We're not flat. We're up and down, I know, Victory Street, all of those. So it's really tough. So now that we've decreased the speed limits, I live in North Bernard. That's where I front. And since they put in that 40, the majority of cars 24/7 that go only that speed limit, I don't even have to look. I can tell by the sound of the tires. And 4 o'clock in the morning, people are going the speed limit. Going to work, they're going the speed limit. Going down. Nobody races up and down the street. You get the odd idiot, right? And it is slowed, thanks to our counselors, past and present, and people around HRM who had, these fellas driving their little toy cars making all kinds of noise and doing donuts. That's why they closed down Point Pleasant and put in chicanes and all that stuff to stop that happening. But it happened in Upper Fairview, and that's where the people of, let's put it this way, a high tax base complained, and they got the speed reduced.
All right, Williams, we're going to move on. Appreciate the call, sir. Have a fantastic long weekend.
Fantastic, yeah. Like I say, and especially to our emerged pilots, heroes they call them in the
Absolutely.
States. We just say thank you for your service.
You betcha. Williams, have a good weekend. 902-405-6000. That's 902-405-6000. The Happy News edition of the Friday Free-for-All after the break.
X.
All right, welcome back. This is the good news edition of the Friday Free for All. Your chance to tell us something good that happened to you, or send a shout out to somebody, or share a lovely piece of happy news before we head off into the long weekend here for Labor Day. 902-405-6000. We'll welcome Holly to the program. Holly, how are you?
Hey, not too bad. How are you?
Good. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to share some of my summer highlights. I know that was a topic on your
Sure.
mind, so
Yeah.
I have a few. I'll try to be brief. Basically, yeah, just reiterating what your previous callers had mentioned about Nova Scotia. Basically, one of my highlights was me and a girlfriend just deciding to check out a random town we never been to. So we basically just packed our cars and went, and we checked out Liverpool. Gorgeous place. I'd never been there before. Gorgeous little town, and we packed in a bunch of adventures for just having been there for 2 nights. One of the highlights was, I think, what's it called? Somerville Beach Provincial Park, I want to say. Gorgeous beach I'd never been to before. Stunning.
Awesome.
So that was one of the highlights. And then the second one was going to Pugwash with my parents. My parents had never seen Pugwash before. My boyfriend's family is from there. So that was the number 2 highlight, just kind of like, again, reiterating that Nova Scotia is so beautiful and you don't have to go very far.
No, it's a couple of hours in either direction and you're there, right?
Yeah, so.
We are darn lucky to live here.
Absolutely.
Holly, appreciate it. Have a great weekend, okay?
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
902-405-6000. It's 902-405-6000. Another first-time caller. Oh, my goodness. We're striking gold today. Welcome, Shelley, to the program. Shelley, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Good. What's on your mind today?
I want to give a shout-out to your cigar-smoking friend, veteran friend, Wayne.
I haven't heard from him for a
who calls
while.
all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. He has absolutely changed our lives.
Really? How?
Well, he, as a veteran, when my husband, when he started having all these health issues and that, Wayne was absolutely wonderful with showing us how to get the help he needs.
Right.
Through Veterans Affairs. And the difference that he's made in our lives is amazing. I just can't say enough about him.
Sometimes having somebody that's been through the system before helps people that are trying to navigate, which can be a difficult process.
It certainly was, because my husband went through all of the Veterans Affairs,
right.
And he was denied, and apparently most people are, and they have to go through an appeal thing. And my husband just kind of said, "Well, we're denied, we're done," right? But now that he's gotten the help he needs, he gets, we have insurance, but it only covers a certain amount of physio per year type of thing. But with the veterans, he gets all the physical help he needs.
Well, good for him.
It's such a huge difference.
Fantastic. Well, we'll send a shout out to Wayne, the cigar chomper.
Yes, absolutely.
Shelley, thanks for calling. Thanks for sharing, and have a happy weekend.
Okay, thank you.
902-405-6000. It's 902-405-6000. Haven't heard from Wayne in a while. Wonder if he's up there listening today. Stephen, how are you?
Oh, I'm good, Dan. How are you?
Good. What's on your mind?
Well, I got 3 things.
Sure.
It's sad and happy. So Sean McKenna.
Yeah, that is a very, very sad story. The music world and Halifax in general are at a loss for him.
I grew up with him, so
right.
Sad he's gone. Happy for what he did.
Right, absolutely.
Like Bar Stools and Band Talk.
Yeah.
What a great show.
It was fantastic.
The firefighters. I live in Westwood Hills.
Yeah, I hear you.
Can't say enough about those folks. One of the local firefighters in my neighborhood chose to watch his house burn to save somebody else's.
Yeah, it's a terrible story.
So, kudos to that. And then the other one is tomorrow in the Hubley Plaza by Exit 5, 10 to 4. Team Rubicon will be there.
Yes. Yeah.
And I encourage everyone to come out and see those folks. They're veterans. And they give up their time to find little tiny bits and pieces of treasure for people from a disaster. So, Hubley Plaza, right off Exit 5, off the 103, 10 to 4. to me, that's a happy thing.
Steve?
And to me, that's a great way to end the week.
Absolutely. Stephen, I appreciate you sharing, and have yourself a fantastic long weekend.
You as well, and stay safe. Don't drink and drive.
Got it. Have a good one.
Cheers.
902-405-6000. It's 902-405-6000. Let us welcome Catherine to the program. Catherine, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing very well, thank you.
What's on your mind?
Well, I have something that made me happy and enjoy summer. I had a surprise visit yesterday from my niece, her husband, her grandsons, and I am their great aunt.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't ever remember of ever meeting them before.
Well, there you go. More families, better family, right?
Yeah, so you don't have to take a trip to have enjoyment. People take the trip to you.
Come to visit you and come to visit the beautiful place that we live in.
So, and they even brought their lunch and left enough for our dinner.
Well, there you go. That's even better. Free food is on top of it all. That makes the whole story.
Yeah, good. Okay, everybody have a good weekend.
You too, Catherine. I appreciate it. 902-405-6000. That's 902-405-6000. And the last word today goes to Bob. Bob, how are you?
Hey, Dan. How you doing?
I'm good. It's Friday.
Oh, man, it's awesome. This time of year, Dan, how do we not get fired up with the sporting world? I mean, I'm a huge sports guy, and my God, we got the Blue Jays ready to roll going in, looking good, right, with Milwaukee this weekend, and hopefully for the World Series. We've got college football ready to roll tomorrow with number one, right? With Texas against Ohio State, number 3 to start off the season. We've got NFL ready to roll. I mean, we got CFL going. So from a sports point of view, it's awesome for me this time of year.
Not forget that the Halifax Mooseheads are in their preseason, and they'll kick off their season coming up at September 19th.
Absolutely, Dan. So, yeah, with hockey and all these things going on, it's awesome. I just want to say thank you to you guys in the station allowing us to have this forum to speak like this. Appreciate you and Vanessa and Todd very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
And to all of our firefighters and support workers out there, stay safe. We appreciate what you're doing. And God bless you guys all. And I'm going to be a grandfather for the first time, so a little fired up about that.
Yeah, I imagine. Congratulations, Bob.
Thank you, and you guys have a great weekend.
Have a great long weekend. Great way to end the segment. So we were a little worried about how that was going to go, but it went really well, and maybe we'll do this more often. Thanks to everybody who picked up the phone and dialed the numbers and joined the show and shared their stories. I appreciate it. It certainly lifted my spirits heading into this Labor Day long weekend. We were just talking about the Halifax Mooseheads. On the other side of the news, Blake's going to come in, update us on what's going on in the world. On the other side of the news, we're going to have a conversation with the Halifax Mooseheads, their communications manager and good friend of this program, Scott McIntosh, will be joining us to give us a little bit of a taste of what we can expect from the Herd as they get ready to kick off their regular season on September 19th. You are listening to The Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand. We're back in minutes.
Facts.
All right, welcome back to the Todd Veinotte Show. I think our last caller, who is going to be a first-time grandfather, that would be a fantastic way to get into the fall, wouldn't it? But a bit of a sports nut, and listed off a whole bunch of the things that are happening as we migrate from August into September. But I know that our next guest has been busy already for the last couple of weeks as training camp got underway, and we're into the preseason now, and we've seen roster cuts, and the Halifax Mooseheads are gearing up for another fantastic season, we hope. And, of course, you will be listening to them all right here on 95.7 News Radio. And the person I am speaking of course, is their communications manager and good friend of the program, somebody I haven't seen for a long time, and I think that's probably my fault, and that's Scott McIntosh. Scott, how are you?
I'm doing great, Dan. Good to hear your voice.
Yeah, hope things are good down there at Mooseheads HQ.
They are. Well, as you talked about a sports nut, I'm a big Blue Jays fan, so it's been a great summer for me so
right?
far.
Can you they have like a 97% chance of making the playoffs right now. That's fantastic.
Hasn't happened a whole lot in our lifetime. So
no, it's reminiscent of the 90s, isn't it?
Exactly. So no, excited about that, but of course, yes, very excited for the Halifax Moosehead season. I finished my little bit of vacation, and then it was right back to it at the August 16th registration day, and here we are. We've got the player roster already set and announced for this season, and just one preseason game left to go, and then it's on to the real thing. So it's exciting times and a lot of new faces around, and I think it's future's looking pretty good with this team. A new head coach behind the bench in Brad McKenzie. We were all kind of sad to see Andrew Lord go after just one season. He had done a fantastic job, led the team to that big upset in the first round of defending champion Drummondville in the spring. But he kind of got a job offer that he couldn't refuse to get back into the LA Kings organization with their American League team in the Ontario Reign in California. So he was excited, and Brad is more than ready for this job. So I'm very happy. We have a great relationship with him. He's been with the team a number of years, and a really good young hockey mind that the players all love and respect, most importantly. So he's the wave of the future here for the Herd, and he's got a good young crop to do it with.
Tell me a little bit about that crop, Scotty. I know that there's going to be some faces that we will remember from last year from that, I don't think I'm speaking at a class, a surprise run in the playoffs. That being said, there will be a number of new faces and new jerseys and new numbers out there when they take the ice in September.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it's 24 players on this roster. 17 of them are returning players. And I think, our team and our fans have been spoiled over the last number of years in terms of our goaltending. CHL goalie of the year, Jacob Steinman last year, that came over from the Moncton Wildcats, taken over from Mathis Rousseau, who was here for so much time before that. Two of the best in all of the CHL. We've got a new look in the goaltending crease this season. We've got 17-year-old Nick Circa coming back, who spent half the year here after the NCAA rule change. But then Owen Bresson is a guy that they picked up, a 19-year-old. He's from Dominion, Cape Breton, but played in Shawinigan for half the year last year. So he's going to be one of the players manning the crease for the Moose. It's a new face to get used to, along with, of course, there's a new import rule. You can have 3 European imports now instead of just 2. So Carlos Handel is back, the German defenseman drafted by the Montreal Canadiens this June. But now, first Russian we've seen in a long time in a Mooseheads uniform, and Oleg Kulobyakin, and he's got a scoring touch. He's got a great-looking shot. I think he's going to be fun to watch. Got a little taste of him in the preseason so far. And then I know you'll like this, Dan, a Finnish forward in Yasu Mensinen joining the team, and kind of the prototypical Finn, I think, like a good two-way guy. He's going to be excellent on the PK. He's strong on the stick. Like he's, I think, and he's a year older as well, coming in at the age of 18. So I think he's going to be a great third liner, which, again, that's what these Finnish forwards are typically known for, just a player you can win with, and excited to see what the two of them can do.
I often have said that the way to success in hockey these days is having somebody from Finland on your roster.
I've heard that for years from you. But,
anyway, that rule change is really going to make a difference, right? With having some more European flavor and a little bit more of a talent pool to select, as we're laying out the groundwork for these squads.
I think absolutely it will, especially with, the unknowns of the NCAA rule change. We're seeing some players defect earlier in age to south of the border, some of the, high-end Canadian talent. So if you can supplement that, high-end talent with some more Europeans, these teams aren't going to suffer as much. So, again, there's so much to be decided upon with the switch with the NCAA rule change. We've seen it's kind of been like the Wild West in the past year with how players have made moves back and forth across the border. So we'll see how that all shakes out. But I think this is a good rule change in all as well. Plus, Mooseheads made third overall pick. They're selecting very high in the QMJHL draft in June and bringing in what looks to be an NHL caliber defenseman in Malik L'Italien, just a huge guy, skates well, like Justin Barron style skating. He's kind of the full package, and excited to see how things work out for him as well. Cameron Manella, an American, was taken in the second round. He's a very cerebral type player, makes smart plays with the puck, and I think as he gets a little older, we're going to see a lot more offense from him as well. So those are just some of the new faces this year.
we obviously going to be a little bit younger on the back end this season as we move forward, right? The defense core is a little bit younger with those draft picks added.
Yeah, exactly. But it is a solid D core. I really like how it shapes up for the Moose. But Brady Schultz was our captain last season and had an excellent career with the Mooseheads after being a 14th round pick, a guy they kind of took a flyer on a number of years ago, and he ends up coming up north of the border and playing for us and did so well. He's moved on as a 20-year-old. We've also lost forward Braden McPhee, who was an overager last year and really a heart and soul of the program. But then we have one 20-year-old this year. So it's a little different to see QMJHL team with only one 20-year-old on the roster, but that's all we've got right now. And 20-year-old Connor McPherson, who played NCAA last year with University of New Hampshire and had a really good career in Ontario and in Penticton in the BCHL. So excited to see what he can bring to the table.
Have the team decided on captains and assistant captains yet, or is that a little bit early?
That's a little early, but it's not too distant future because the team having the full roster, opening night roster, I guess you could call it, announced already. That typically doesn't happen for us this early. I mean, we're still in August here. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Coach McKenzie name that leadership group prior to the season, which would be great to see. Sometimes that happens a week or two into the season or even longer, but I think they'll have that all set in stone and ready to go by the time the puck drops for the home opener, which is coming up on Saturday, September 20th against Charlottetown.
So the important stuff, Scotty, regular season begins on the 19th of September. How do we get tickets if they're still available?
So right now it's you still got a few days left to get season tickets and half-season packages if you're interested, and you can log on to halifaxmooseheads.ca for all of that information. I can tell you we haven't even announced it yet, so you're getting the exclusive here.
There you go, right here, breaking news.
Individual tickets for the Mooseheads for all 32 home games will go on sale Tuesday, September 9th at 11 a.m. Ticketmaster.ca, and of course you can always log on to halifaxmooseheads.ca, and we have all the info that will direct you there. That official announcement will be coming, in the next couple of days. So that information isn't on our website yet, but I'm telling you now, Tuesday, September 9th, 11 a.m. You can get your tickets for all 32 home games.
There you go, breaking news as we do here on this program. And is the new fan gear available in the store?
Yeah, absolutely it is, and we have a new store in Micmac Mall.
Right.
So you can check that out anytime, open regular mall hours. So that's been great to have as well. But and anything you see there is also available in-game at our in-game kiosks and online at mooseshop.ca. So you can shop 24/7.
I have to go down and get my Messinen jersey.
Yeah, that's right. You got to get that right away.
Fair enough. Scotty, as always, a pleasure, sir. I'm sure we'll talk between now and the beginning of the season.
Sounds awesome. Thank you.
That is Scott McIntosh, our good friend and communications manager with the Halifax Mooseheads. Excitement, I think, is the word as we move into this next level, as we had a bit of a surprise run in the playoffs last year, some returning talent, some new talent, some European talent. I think the word is talent, and I think that this Halifax Moosehead squad is going to make some noise as we move forward into the regular season, which, as I mentioned, begins on the 19th of September. And as always, you can catch each and every game live right here on 95.7 with Gareth McDonald, who returns for yet another season. When we come back, we're going to shift gears a little bit. The Liberals in Nova Scotia have announced they're going to put forward legislation when we get back to work at the legislature to prohibit the use of social media for people under the age of 16. Co-leader MLA Ian Rankin will be joining us. You are listening to The Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand. We're back in minutes. Welcome back to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand as we plow through a Friday edition of the program with the long weekend, the Labor Day long weekend, ready to run the corner. In fact, it's just so close you can almost touch it. And I know many of you are looking forward to it. I saw this come across my desk, and this story came via the CBC website today. The provincial Liberals plan to introduce legislation this fall that would ban children under 16 in Nova Scotia from using social media platforms. Liberal House Leader Ian Rankin said the bill would make Nova Scotia the first province to set minimum age restrictions for social media access and could set a precedent for other provinces to follow suit. Very pleased to welcome the aforementioned Liberal House Leader Ian Rankin to the program. Ian, how are you?
I'm great. Happy Friday, Dan.
Happy Friday to you, sir. I guess I think the overarching question is why now? Why did you decide that this is the time to maybe set some precedent in this country and restrict social media use to youngsters?
It's probably beyond time, but I've been thinking about this for at least a year, and I've always looked at science, evidence, facts when I propose policy. And since I've been looking into the issue, you've seen different areas across the world, really, that are taking leadership moves in this direction. So Australia comes to mind, and that's where we look to emulate our bill off of. But Norway is close to implementing their own, and there's even some states in the United States with Florida. So it actually often starts at the local or provincial state level and then goes more further than that. So we would like to see the federal government actually take a leadership role in Canada, but it has to start somewhere. And if you look in the past, Nova Scotia has been a leader in other areas that look at protecting our children from, like, flavored tobacco is something that our government did that I was able to vote on. But before, smoking in public places, all of those things people kind of thought were wild ideas at the time, and there was pushback. But it was the right thing to do based on what you're seeing in terms of the impact that it can have on children. And the facts are just undisputable. Anyone that is reading what's happening with anxiety diagnoses, with depressive episodes, there's more and more self-harm being reported, and ultimately the suicide rates are going up, and it's directly related to the time when social media platforms were invented, and then smartphones became so readily available to children and youth.
Ian, how would it work? Would there be a provincial body that would regulate this? Would it be the responsibility of the social media companies to police it? The enforcement angle is I guess the question I have. How do we enforce this?
No question, that's a challenge. It's the latter. We, as Australia put in their legislation, it would be the onus would be on the actual provider, the social media provider. So this isn't about trying to penalize people from trying to access it. It is about preventing the account from actually being eligible for someone that's under the age of 16 to create an account. There's already a program that they have now that you have to be, I think it's 13, to create a Facebook account, for example. So I think it's pretty evident that there's so much power in the technology that these big tech companies use that they could easily do it. And Jenna Post referenced what they did in Australia as soon as their bill was announced. YouTube, within 2 days, I think, had a response to be able to restrict people from using YouTube. And there's an exception for educational components, is my understanding, for that particular platform.
So would it be, and then if the social media companies' method doesn't work and kids are still accessing it, would there be somebody watching the social media companies, I guess, is the question?
Yeah, and I think that's a good question. We're on the I think the beginnings of how that would be able to be effectively regulated. There's always people that try to work around legislation, but there has to be a penalty to try to avoid that, to deter that. So we have I think it's a $250,000 fine in our legislation that was based on consulting with experts from Unplugged Canada to look at what's reasonable, and there's really hefty fines in Australia in the millions. So I think social media companies are watching the development of what legislators are doing. Like the president of France even talked about how if the EU, the entire European Union, doesn't act on this soon, then he would act. So this is a discussion. This transcends political affiliations, frankly. Like Florida is doing it. You can't really identify Florida as a particularly big government state, and I don't believe in big government. The evidence is irrefutable. So as legislators, we have to look at that and find a way to protect our children.
And that leads me to my next question, Ian. Opposition bills traditionally have a tough go in the legislature to go from the implementation stage into law. Need some help. Have you had discussions with the other parties about this, and what are their thoughts on it?
No, and we haven't seen a real appetite from this government to collaborate with opposition. They've actually curtailed the involvement of opposition at the legislature. We have less opportunity to speak, and even at committee level. But that can't deter us. It is our job to bring forward issues, and oftentimes it stimulates conversation. I would love for the government to adopt the idea and come forward with a bill of their own. We've seen that with the lunch program. Like, the Conservative Party was the last party to actually agree that we should have a universal lunch program. The other opposition parties put forward multiple bills over multiple years, and they adopted it. So that's how our system is designed to work. And, this is stimulating conversation. I really appreciate you having me on the show, because that'll get more people and parents interested. There's a ton of people emailing me about this, even beyond Nova Scotia. And, it's overwhelmingly from parents, I have to say, a very positive conversation. And I think there's an appetite to start moving in this direction.
Ian, we know that the legislature is coming back into session at the end of September. It's been a while. This is obviously on top of your list. Are you hoping to that this gets a little traction, I guess, in this session?
Well, I do. Yeah, we'll hopefully have a healthy debate around this, and I'll give credit to the current government for putting restrictions on cell phones. Credit is due there. We want it to go further, obviously, but there's other issues that are happening in the province. We have to grow the economy, and we're really focused on that. But if we can make Nova Scotia one of the best places to raise a family, and have parents not have to worry about trying to figure out if their kids should be on it and their peers happen to be on it, that's the challenging conversation that parents are having. But it can't get any more serious than trying to protect our children. And big tech's control of the minds of our children when the algorithms are driving them into unsafe areas. So this, I hope, will be discussed as much as we can. We'll be pushing the issue, and if nothing else, the conversation's already unfolding, as you see online and in other channels.
Ian, have a fantastic long weekend, sir.
You too. Thanks for having me.
That is Ian Rankin from the Liberal Party of Nova Scotia. The all-important question when it comes to long weekends is, what's the weather going to do? This one's a little bit different than most long weekends. Normally we're asking for bright blue skies and beautiful sunny days and very little humidity and all of the bucket list of getting out and enjoying time in Nova Scotia weather items. But this time it's a little bit different because of the current situation that we're in. Many are asking for rain, which I don't often hear, but they are. So when we ask questions about the weather, we go right to the source, and we're going to do that right after the news, after Blake updates us on what's going on, our weather specialist. I call him Double A. He's Alistair Alders, and he'll be in the studio to give us a look at the weekend weather. You're listening to The Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand. We are back in minutes. Welcome back to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand. It is Friday, and we're rolling into that long weekend. It's almost here. I can see it now. It's only 30 minutes away, at least for me. And, of course, we always are very curious as to what's going to happen weather-wise. And in the studio with me today is our weather specialist and friend of the show, I think I can say.
Of course.
That is Alistair Alders' voice that you hear. And very quickly, before we go to Alistair, I just saw a release that came from the province. As of late, we've been having 2 o'clock briefings for the fire situation update. Today, they're pushing that back to 3:30 because the premier is joining the conversation, and it says, and this is all I know, so don't shoot the messenger, but he says that the woods ban will be addressed. I don't know if that's what that means. I don't even want to speculate on it because I don't want to give you any kind of bad information. But 3:30 today, make sure your radio is locked on 95.7 News Radio because we will carry that news conference live with the premier talking about the woods ban and with the Jim Rutherham and the folks that are doing all that fantastic work
Yes.
in Annapolis Valley about the fire and all of that stuff. So make sure that you stick around right here to 95.7 News Radio. Alistair, sorry for stealing your time, sir.
That is okay. It's very topical conversation. I mean, especially hearing from those officials about the wildfire in West Dalhousie, and I mean, it's been a taxing few weeks for them, but I mean, what a week from what happened over the weekend, especially Sunday. I mean, I know you shouted them out earlier, but a big shout out to the firefighters, the pilots, the volunteers. There is so much effort that goes into that. I can't even imagine the coordination that goes into it, and they make it look so easy to us who were just watching it all unfold from listening on the radio or watching on TV. It's just been a devastating situation, and really hoping that that Mother Nature helps them out, number one, but that they can obviously get an upper hand on this fire.
Well, they did say yesterday a number of times during the news conference that in order for them to get a grip on this fire, they're going to need cooperation from Mother Nature. And I know somebody that has a pipeline to Mother Nature to tell us what's going on. And that's you, sir. So you've looked at the models just before you came on the radio here. What's the latest info? What can we expect precipitation-wise? Easy for me to say. It's Friday.
Exactly.
Rain-wise when it comes to this weekend's weather.
Well, I mean, yesterday, if you were tuned in, especially during the afternoon news, I was quite optimistic from what I was seeing on the models that, we'd have at least some showers. We need rain, obviously. Long duration rain event like we had earlier in the week, which when it was raining, I was like, what is this?
Right.
It seemed
I saw
so
people
strange.
outside in it. People were running out of the house, and they were literally, Vanessa wanted me to dance in it, but the world's not ready for that.
Really?
Yeah. Well, really?
But
what are we going to get this weekend?
The models were more optimistic yesterday. When I was looking at them this morning, they are less optimistic just because the scenario is very complex. Okay, first we have a potent low that will push offshore tonight into Saturday, not really giving us anything. It gives Newfoundland the rain, which they obviously desperately need for their wildfire situation, which has been improving. Brushes eastern mainland Nova Scotia, Cape Breton with some showers and chance of a shower here tonight. There's another low pressure system that's stalled really over southern Quebec that's going to slowly push through on Saturday into Sunday with a cold front. But it's very weak. It's not, and it's a mature stage of development. It's breaking down. There's not a lot to it. So unfortunately, it just looks like there's going to be a chance of some scattered showers as we go through Saturday and Saturday night with a risk of a thunderstorm. Yesterday, it was looking like these would be still scattered but more widespread. But what I'm seeing this morning is just enough lift for a chance of these showers. Nothing too beneficial. Now, I guess the piece of good news, it looks like the chance of showers will be greatest over the western half of the province. So places like West Dalhousie will have a better chance of seeing some of these showers than, say, even Halifax or the eastern mainland from that system. But it's not giving us the long duration beneficial rain that we need. And then the system starts to clear out as we go through Sunday, only an isolated chance of a shower, and then high pressure settles back in for Monday, and really most of next week is looking fairly calm aside from, the odd shower that could pop up in the heating of the day. There's just not a lot to talk about, unfortunately, which I wish I had better news. I mean, we talked so much about how we wanted to get rid of those rainy weekends that we were having before the summer came, and now it's like, bring them back, please.
Yeah, no kidding.
I said this morning, I don't know if it went on air this morning, but I said in my briefing to Mark and Shelley that, it's the long weekend, and it's kind of trying to hit a balance of we want to enjoy the nice weather because it's the last long weekend of summer, but we also need this rain, and many of us want this rain because of not only the fire situation, but the ongoing drought situation. We had a lot of rain earlier in the week, which was helpful, but most of the rain this month came from just 2 weather events, and it's certainly not enough to make up for the deficit, even though technically Shearwater will finish the month with higher than normal rainfall from 2 systems, right? So it's, when you hear that, it's rainfall was higher than normal. Well, it was only 2 systems, and one of them dropped 70 millimeters in a, we'll say, roughly 12-hour window, and it was very heavy. I mean, it was certainly beneficial, but I mean, we haven't had, the days and days of rain that we really need, of light rain, to improve the situation, unfortunately.
Jim Rutterham, one of the people that is working on the fire over in Weston House, he explained the ground is crusty, and because it's so dry, and it will take an extended period of rain over several days just to break that crust. So what's happening now, me telling the meteorologist, but what he says is happening now is that because that crust is on the surface, when the rain comes, it hits the crust, won't go into the ground, runs off. So we need to have an extended, 2-3 day period of good soaking rain to break that crust down, right?
Well, that's the thing. And we've got to a point where it's so dry, the ground can't absorb the rainfall, even if it's a light, steady rainfall. It's going to take some time to, like you said, get that top layer just, rid of that dry, almost, dead soil. Like you see those pictures sometimes in the desert of the cracked landscape, and that is happening for some people around here, right? So it's not a lot of that rain we had, while beneficial earlier in the week, a lot of it did run off because obviously the ground is just so dry. It can't take in that rain all at once. So there's no easy solution aside from send us a parade of low pressure systems that bring, rain every other day if possible. Right. So
switching gears a little bit to the tropical weather, we had I'm not even going to say a brush. We had a pass by from Hurricane Aaron, but that storm was so wide that it created some winds for us last weekend. Ferdinand is out there, but not doing much. And then
it's gone now.
Looked at the maps before I came on the air, and it may have changed since then, but it looks like the Atlantic Basin anyway is pretty quiet right now.
Pretty quiet, yeah. I mean, they were monitoring, I believe, one area off the coast of Africa. Yeah, they're monitoring one area off the coast of Africa right now, which has a very low chance of developing into something over the next 5 to 7 days. So all is quiet for now, but we are not at the peak of the season. The peak is around September 10th, the statistical peak for the entire Atlantic. And as we know, for Nova Scotia and Atlantic Canada, that peak is through September and October. So it might be quiet now, but we certainly need to keep an eye on the Atlantic. I mean, obviously, there's no way of knowing if a tropical storm or a hurricane will impact us, or if they'll follow similar tracks to Fernand and Aaron and stay well offshore, which I think is the hope for many of us. I know some would like the rain from the systems, but often if we get the rain, it comes with the other problems that we really don't want and don't need. So, fingers crossed that it's just a quiet end of the season for us, but obviously, especially in the weather world, there is still a lot of time to go for that, for the Atlantic to pick up an activity again.
Well, all these high pressure systems, Alistair, that we've been experiencing, that's been responsible for the weather, is that part of the reason why we've seen, the few storms that have generated and have come up towards the eastern seaboard of the United States and into Canadian water, have made that northeast turn earlier than they usually do? Is that the high pressure that's pushing them off?
Yeah, high pressure is obviously a big player in the movement of these storms. I mean, Fernand developed near Bermuda, so obviously then we're dealing with the Bermuda High, and it steers around that. That's one of the big drivers in the Atlantic for the hurricane season, and Aaron was the same. We essentially had two areas of high pressure kind of battling it out, one over the continent and one over the Atlantic, and the one over the Atlantic weakened enough and moved a bit farther towards the east to give that escape route for it to curve out towards the northeast, which is a pattern we typically see later in the hurricane season and into the fall, because obviously the Bermuda High is closer to Bermuda in the summertime, and throughout the summer has been, close and even a bit farther north and west, which is why we've had so much dry weather this summer. But obviously, as it starts to shift, because it's the Azores Bermuda High technically, so it's going to start to gradually migrate back over towards Europe. And as it does so, that's when you have to watch how those storms kind of curve around the high pressure cells. And we can also start to see at this time of year where we're getting cooler temperatures coming in. Frontal boundaries can can be the seed for a hurricane or a tropical storm to develop in the Gulf or even off the east coast of the U.S. So there's more factors at play. But yeah, that Bermuda High starts to move east and gives kind of that
that curving path, and whether it, can curve right out to sea or towards land, obviously just depends on how far east it is at the time.
So bottom line for this weekend is some scattered showers. Any idea? 5 millimeters, 10 millimeters?
If you get into a shower, about 5 millimeters, locally higher if it was a downpour or a thunderstorm. But I'll be updating the forecast here this afternoon for the All News Afternoons, and I'll be looking at the latest models. But 5 millimeters if we're caught in a shower. But even, it's looking like these will be very scattered, and some might get the 5, others won't, like we've seen pretty much all summer. And then maybe a spotty shower Sunday, and then it's otherwise just a fair weekend.
And then Tuesday back to school, we're looking at sunshine and warm temperatures.
Pretty fair, and temperatures near maybe just a bit above average, because obviously we're getting into the point where that average high is now falling rather than rising. So, low mid-20s generally for highs next week. So fair, warm, but not too hot. Just need a little bit more rain. Hopefully we can get it sometime soon.
That is our weather specialist, Alistair Alders, our all-knowing, all-seeing weather guy. You can listen to him in the morning with Mark and Shelley, and, of course, with Blake and Chris in the afternoon. Alistair, have a fantastic long weekend,
sir.
You
too, Dan. Thank you.
We're going to stop down when we come back. The NFL world is a flutter today. A massive trade in the preseason between the Green Bay Packers and the Dallas Cowboys. Cecil is here, and we'll get his thoughts on the big trade that was announced yesterday. You're listening to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand. We're back in minutes.
Thanks.
All right, welcome back to the Todd Veinotte Show. Just a few minutes left here before we end the show and we head off on the long weekend. But what is tradition here on the program is to welcome in our good friend and resident sports guru, Cecil Wright. Cecil, the NFL and the Dallas Cowboys fandom is aflutter today after Jerry Jones was Jerry Jones and did something that most people think was probably not the smartest thing, and that is to trade a generational talent away to the Green Bay Packers in Micah Parsons.
I couldn't believe it when I heard that they traded him. First, I'm thinking, please make sure it's not to Buffalo or anybody in the AFC East.
Right.
But Green Bay, aren't they? They're in the same conference.
They are. Play twice a
a
year.
So they're going to see this guy, and he's going to be up to the task of decapitating Dak Prescott. I just think Jerry Jones is one of those guys, kind of like Steinbrenner used to be, except Steinbrenner would spend money on his team. Seems to me that Jerry Jones is trying to be like Bob Kraft and get by with what he's got now without putting any more money into it.
He says that this is setting them up to have the best talented team in the future that they can get, and the reason why he's saying that is they got a defensive tackle in return, but they also got 2 first-round picks for this trade. But that's not. I can tell you, reading social media today, it's not playing well in Cowboys Nation.
Well, you're not going to get any top 2 picks who have the same talent as Micah Parsons. That's number one. Number two, it just seemed to me that they were somewhat hesitant to want to pay the guy. And, T.J. Watt got paid, and, there's another defensive player whose name escapes me right now who got paid. Terry McLaurin got paid from Washington. Right. You pay your top talent, and you don't just try to get by with draft picks, although you got to have draft picks to help you out. But the bottom line is you pay your superstar players to deliver. Micah Parsons is a superstar player who delivers, and he's now delivering for the Packers. I can't believe I'm saying that.
Packers signed him to a 4-year, $188 million deal. He's the highest paid player that's not a quarterback in the National Football League.
Yeah, and he's a great player. There's no question about it.
He is, absolutely.
No question. He deserves every penny that he can get. I empathize with the Dallas Cowboy fans who, realize they just lost their best overall player. And for what? He wanted a new contract, and Jerry Jones wouldn't give it to him. That's why.
Switching gears a little bit, Cecil, you and I haven't had a discussion as of late about baseball, now that the Blue Jays are a contender, as they would say. Still 3.5 games up on the Red Sox in the East, and we're running out of regular season. This is a playoff-bound Blue Jays squad.
Not so fast now. They've got
come on
a series with Milwaukee coming up.
Which is going to be a huge series this weekend. Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, is there any possibility that you think that the Jays are going to sweep Milwaukee? I don't either.
Well, I can always hope, but the chances are that the Jays are going to they'll make the playoffs and at least in the wild card. But I'm hoping they win the division. They could still win the division. Very, very easily could win the division
if their pitching holds up, and that's the one thing I think you should be worried about. Max Scherzer, though he's been throwing well lately, is still 97 years old, and Shane Bieber, his next pitch could be his last for all we know. Although I got to tell you, I'm excited to see him back. I've always liked him, even when he was with Cleveland, and I think it's a good move by the Blue Jays to get good, solid, experienced pitchers.
So the Red Sox are 3.5 back. The Yankees are 4 back. In the absence of Todd Veinotte, I have to ask the question, who's going to finish on top, the Red Sox or the Yankees?
Oh, the Red Sox, of course. Come on, what kind of question is that?
I knew you were going to say that. I knew it.
Didn't we take 8 out of 9 from the Yankees this year? I believe that's what we did.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's probably why Todd's not even here today. He doesn't want to talk about that.
There you go. He wanted to avoid you. Absolutely. You watch college football in the U.S.?
Oh, I do.
It's a big weekend, right?
Oh, my God. Texas and Ohio State.
Week 1.
That's for starters.
Week 1, they put 1 against 3. That I don't know if that was a mistake, but it certainly has got a lot of buzz.
Certainly does. And, Arch Manning, the starting quarterback for Texas, that Manning family name and that tradition, he's going to be in tough, but he's a great player. I remember seeing him once or twice last year saying that this guy's got it. But, Ohio State defending champions, are they not?
Absolutely. And Texas is number 1 now, are they not?
Yes, they are. Yeah.
So
it'll be great.
It'll be good and a good way to start the college football season. And there's a lot of discussion with this Micah Parsons deal that Jerry's got his eyes on Arch Manning and that he wants him to replace Dak Prescott.
Well, that's probably true. I think that there are all kinds of teams, at least 4 or 5 teams who think they are going to get the number 1 pick, who have their eye on Mr. Manning as well. I don't see how Dallas is going to get him unless they end up with a terrible record, which if they do, everybody's going to blame it on Jerry, and deservedly so.
Absolutely. Yeah. Cecil, I appreciate it, sir. Have yourself a fantastic Labor Day long weekend.
Listen, I got to tell you, there's some baseball happening on this weekend.
Sure.
The 13U Provincials at Conrose on Sunday, 2 o'clock. Everybody should get out there and support these young kids.
They're fun to watch.
Yep.
Cecil, have a good weekend, sir.
All right, bud. Have a good one.
That is Cecil Wright, our resident sports guru, and it is the Labor Day weekend. So let's also remember those that have come before us in the labor movement that have given us what we need and what we get these days. And let's think of those that have maybe lost their lives as a result of workplace injuries this weekend. I know it's a downer, but it's something we should do on the Labor Day long weekend. Everybody have a fantastic couple of days off. We'll be back at it here on Tuesday. My undying gratitude to Vanessa Vandenez on the other side of the glass. It was her idea to do the good news thing, so she gets the laurels, absolutely gets the laurels. My thanks to every one of you who picked up the phone, dialed the numbers, and joined the show. You make my day each and every day that you do that. Thanks to all of our guests who've taken time out of their busy schedules to join our program and impart their knowledge upon us. It certainly is a learning experience as you move forward, and I want to send a special thank you to all the listeners for dealing with me for this week, getting back into the chair. A little bumpy, but we're going to get there eventually, I promise. Have a fantastic long weekend, everyone. Get out there, enjoy Nova Scotia. We're so darn lucky to live where we live. Be well, and remember, be kind to one another.